Fantasy football busts of week 4. First things first, Bengals, enough is enough. What do you want us to do? My calf feels like it got run over by a Zamboni. Joe, stop playing
Jordan
that.
Love is your quarterback. Jordan Love. Jordan Love is a project quarterback, played 2 games his final year in college against top 25 teams, and all he did is throw interceptions. Jordan Love.
Mad Dog,
Oh
are
my
you
God.
buying what Stephen A is
What?
saying?
You're a phony. That is unbelievable. Because Jerry Jones takes it in a helicopter once in a while, all of a sudden you like the Cowboys? You know, they can win.
Did I say I like the Cowboys?
Well, they can get to the Super Bowl, I'm okay with it.
What I said is
Come on.
they've suffered enough. They've suffered.
Oh,
Chicago
stop.
Bears are trash. Let's just call it what it is. They're not a good organization, okay? You really breaking it down. Look at me when I'm talking.
You haven't seen the Lions. Now you have. And the rest of the NFC has to be a little nervous there. David Montgomery rushed for 121 yards, 3 touchdowns.
The Rush Report.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Rush Report. We are on week 11 with 4 weeks left to go in the regular season, and it is getting tight in both leagues as we make playoff pushes down the stretch. Nick, how are you doing tonight, and how are you handling being at the top of the bigs?
I don't like being at the top, man. The 1 seed never does well.
You're right. The 1 seed never does well. I think I can count on about 2 or 3 hands in the last 7 years. That's how long we've been in the league. That the 1 seed in the bigs has actually won the whole thing. And if I look at it right, the last one to do it, I think was me back in 2019.
Yeah, we have to go into the archive files.
We would have to go into the archives.
Yeah.
But
traditionally, I think
we've said the 1 seed is cursed.
Oh, very much so. That is always cursed. I'm not. That's why I try to stay away from the 1 seed. But here I am.
There you are, and the scary part is I don't even think you're still. I still don't say you're the best team. Craig's team is by far. I mean, it's got the most points scored per game. The next closest is Nate, or actually it's Christy at 102.5 points per game. Craig has almost a 9 whole point per matchup lead over that. So it'll be interesting. And Christy's sneaking into the playoffs. She has gone 3 straight years finishing second, and her team's getting healthy at just the right time.
That it is. I mean, it's definitely helping with that.
And the emergence of Tank Dell and Kareem Hunt being the guy in Cleveland, that's probably one of the most underrated pickups of the year. That Jerome Ford, and let's start off with that tonight. Who do you think is the most under the radar pickup that you've seen in all of fantasy this year?
It's not really under the radar, but it's pretty spectacular. It's Chad picking up Eckler still.
Well, yeah, we can go with that. I mean, that's not under the radar. That's out there. I'm looking at the big pickup. I'm gonna go with Dave after week 1, Puka Nacua.
Solid.
Okay.
Nobody's radar.
I mean, nobody's radar. He was talked about a little bit in the preseason, but everybody thought he's not going to amount to anything, and he's slowed down a little bit as of late, but he still looks like he's going to be a Ram receiver for a long time.
Very much so. He looks really good.
So I'm just going to throw that out there, that move is probably one of the most underrated moves of the year. So You ready to get into it?
So for records for everybody, the last time that a 1 has done anything more than the first round, it's 2019.
And who won in 2019?
You stole the championship from me.
Ah, that's right.
It
That was the year I
matchup.
stole Nick Chubb from you.
Yeah, that was the that was a 1-2 matchup actually.
That was an impressive. That was your second year in the bigs. That was my third, and I think that was the first time that two teams from the lower bracket were in the championship. Was that year 3 of expansion? Year 4, when the league started to grow.
Yes, 17 was no 16.
16 was the first year of the two leagues, so that would have been the 4th year.
Yeah, 4th year because I won it in my
in your rookie year.
Yep.
A little bit of Rush history for anybody that cares. All right. But we're done looking at the past. It's time to move on to the future. And the future includes week 11 and this week's bigs matchup of the week. I went back and forth, but this is a big matchup, not so much for one opponent, but for the other, because the other opponent, the one opponent, is on a 2-game skid. And I don't want to pull out the desperate card because he has the points, but needs a win to solidify his playoff standing. And that is your matchup with Nate. Nate has scored at least 100 points per matchup until last week. His points per matchup average dropped below 100 points for the first time this season. He's now sitting at 99.6 points per matchup, which is still respectable. But was last week just a road bump, or is that something that we can see of Nate slowing down as we near the playoffs?
I'm hoping he slows down, but we shall see if that's going to happen.
I mean, last week he got bit by the bye week. DeAndre Swift, who has been a very solid player this year, that's been huge. That's been part of the reason why Nate has been able to average so many points. And Stephon Diggs, last week he did nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it very well be the same thing now. I mean, they're going underneath new offensive coordinator and everything.
We'll see. It's going to be interesting. That Bills offense is going to be with Joe Brady. You can look and see he has a history of what he's done. Look at what he did in Carolina. That didn't work. Look at what he did in New Orleans. That did work. Now, granted, he wasn't the OC in New Orleans. He was the quarterback's coach under Sean Payton, but he's got the know-how, and look at what he did as the offensive coordinator at LSU. You can say what you want, but if you can still coach competency in college, you know what you're doing, unless if your name's Matt Canada, but I digress.
Moving right along.
I had to get it in there. All right, but let's look at this matchup. We got Jared Goff and Joe Burrow. MFL projects Jared Goff to be better than Joe Burrow this week, and I love it.
I could semi-agree only because of the tough defensive matchup.
I was going to say, tough road game on a short week. The Bengals and Ravens are playing on Thursday Night Football, and the Bears defense, they don't scare anybody.
No.
They beat a bad Panthers team last week. Montez Sweat looked good, but we've seen the Lions' offensive line is probably one of the best offensive line in football. right now.
Mm-hmm. They're protecting. There's time.
Yeah. So, as we look at this, okay? Nope. Moved ahead. My bad. As we look at this, give me Jared Goff over Burrow. I don't have a problem saying that. Running backs is where it gets a little interesting, and you have an update on your roster.
Yep.
Because right before we decided to go on the air or go live, Nick decided to change his line.
Well, that's the best part about it. Usually I'm a Sunday night, Monday night kind of guy, and I just leave it alone. But every indication that I'm seeing is my boy, Devon Achen, is back. So
It looks like he's playing this week.
Devon will be going in for Zay Flowers.
Okay. All right. And they get the Raiders, who struggle to stop the run. That's a big move. I like it. So A-Chain over Zay Flowers. Okay. What is the projected point for A-Chain?
11.67.
Okay, so you have 11 point. You take a point and a half. That makes the point spread just over 2 points. Okay, so as we look at that, look at running backs: Pacheco, Achen, and Kenny Walker against Saquon and DeAndre Swift. I think this is a week that the Giants are going to ride Saquon Barkley, and he is going to have one of those 20-point games.
He's going to have a very good game. I mean, DeVito does not look good.
DeVito doesn't look good. The offensive line doesn't look good, but the Commanders' defense isn't good. I look at that, and I think if the Giants want to at least sell tickets, I know it's on a road game, it's a division game. Those are always harder. But I think with Saquon Barkley, you've got to ride him. You've got to put him in spots to get the ball, whether that's in short screen passes, whether that's wheel routes, whether it's getting him the ball creatively. I don't care what it is. Daboll's got to figure out how to get the ball. Daboll and Mike Kafka have to figure out how to get the ball to Saquon Barkley in space and let him do Saquon Barkley things. We've seen him do it before. I think we can see him do it again. We need to see him do it again.
Yeah, it'd be a matter if they're so one-dimensional, they're stoppable, but it's all about lines. That's always a big concern.
Yeah. And then Pacheco and DeAndre Swift. I mean, this is a running back matchup, but against both teams, each going against each other. The Chiefs' defense is one of the most underrated defenses this year. People aren't talking about how good the Chiefs' defense actually is. I don't think I don't know if DeAndre Swift gets to that 13.5. But on the other side, I don't think Pacheco gets to that 13 either.
Eagles got a formidable defense for sure.
Eagles have a great front seven. They've stopped the run this year. But so have the Chiefs. So I'm going to call a push on that alone. But Kenny Walker. So let's look at Kenny Walker. I talked about Saquon Barkley. Kenny Walker's a great talent, but the Seahawks are starting to use their second-round pick, Zach Charbonnet. And the Rams are the Rams. They don't stop the run like they used to. Aaron Donald's still a beast. But Aaron Donald's there to rush the quarterback, not stop the run.
But it's interesting to know with Kenny Walker, they're spreading him out now.
He is getting more looks in the passing game, but I feel like part of that was because DK was out for 2 weeks. Just it depends on how you feel. Now, receivers: Steph Diggs, Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton looked like a competent, really good receiver Monday night against the Bills. That touchdown catch, I'm going to agree with Matt. That's got to be up there for catch of the year. That's got to be a catch of the year nominee. To be able to keep his toes in there like that. I mean, And that's only a pass that Russell Wilson can throw. That was vintage Russell Wilson too. Let's
Man,
not
if you can carry it on.
let's not forget about Russ. Okay, you're starting to see him cook a little bit, but you've got Addison and Jalen Waddle. I like Diggs and Sutton. Sorry,
My concern is just the way they've been playing. The Bills. That is.
I'd agree with that, but I think the Bills are going to come out. I think it's a home game. It's a 4:25 game. I think they're going to come out and they're either going to lay a dud or they're going to come out firing. And I think there's too much pride in Buffalo and Josh Allen. I think it's just going to be one of those weeks that it's going to be a huge week for the Bills offense.
We shall
Because
see.
essentially,
They need to.
they need it, but essentially Joe Brady's interviewing. He's got the rest of the regular season to interview for any offensive coordinator job next year, not just Buffalo.
Mhm.
Let's not put that in. Let's not throw that away. I think that's a big thing. Coaches are also at that point are coaching for jobs, whether that's where they're at now or if they'll get a job next year somewhere else. So let's look at that. But I think Diggs and Sutton, I think they outperform Addison and Waddle because Addison has the matchup with Patrick Surtain, and Josh Dobbs has done a really good job of getting the ball, of spreading the ball around.
Especially to Addison.
Yep. Now, tight ends. Mark Andrews, David Njoku. I don't like Njoku after the Deshaun Watson news today, but I understand why you start Njoku. Rookie quarterback. I mean, this is a lineup. Nate submitted it yesterday, so even before the Deshaun Watson news broke. But rookie quarterback, tight end safety valve. I don't hate the play. And then Mark Andrews. Essentially, let's Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson. Hawkinson's been the second best tight end. You can make an argument for the best tight end this year, fantasy wise. And Mark Andrews, he's started to look like Mark Andrews now in that Baltimore offense.
That Thursday night games, though.
It is a Thursday night game, and because it's a Thursday night game, I give the edge to TJ Hawkinson, just because it's a Thursday night game. You never know what's going to happen on a Thursday night. So, I will say, you know what gives Nate a little bit of an advantage though? His defense over Cincinnati. It's a bold play putting out Cincinnati. But we've seen defenses on Thursday night play well and offenses struggle. And I wouldn't want to start Tampa against San Francisco.
Nope.
But Pittsburgh's going up against a rookie quarterback. That's a little dangerous.
Not a bad play.
It isn't. All right. So are you picking against yourself?
No, I wouldn't be.
I
wouldn't be completely upset because it potentially will knock me down a seat or two.
Oh, stop it. You're ridiculous.
Superstitious.
Yeah, you are. But you know what? I'm calling the upset this week. I like Goff more than Burrow, but I think it comes down to Saquon Barkley, and I'm going to stand behind what I said. Saquon Barkley is the reason why Saquon Barkley, and you can say whatever you want that defenses don't matter. I think we've seen this year that defenses have absolutely mattered in seeing the way that teams have won. I think Saquon and the Steelers defense beat you this week.
We shall see. It's all about, it's going to come down. It could very well come down to Monday because both Pacheco and Swift are playing.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun matchup. going throughout the whole week. So that's our first matchup. Our second matchup is Adam against Darren. Now, Darren's in a little bit of a slump, but at least he's lost 5 straight. There's some hope that Justin Fields may play this week.
He really wants to start him.
So, do you start Justin Fields or do you start Will Levis? That is the question.
It's a very good question.
I don't even know what the right answer is.
I don't think it's not a good answer. I mean,
There's not.
there's risk for both. I could
On
see
the other
it-
side,
Yeah, go ahead.
Josh Dobbs looks really good. Josh Dobbs looks like, did we say it last week? He could be this year's Nick Foles, or the offseason's Nick Foles.
Could be.
Where a couple of years ago he got paid starter money to go to Jacksonville. I mean, there are teams that need quarterbacks, and Josh Dobbs, he has played well this year. The Pastronaut is a legitimate quarterback, and I think it's safe to say he's a legitimate starting quarterback in the NFL.
Always about the year after.
It is. So,
A lot of times
but
it doesn't translate. I mean, this year, though, it's a good story.
it is. But I think what I like about the Josh Dobbs story is that he's done it in 2 separate offenses, and he's done it well. I mean, Arizona wasn't built to win. You can say whatever you want, and Josh Dobbs made mistakes. He threw too many bad interceptions, which is why they ultimately ended up trading him. But you look at what Josh Dobbs has done this year. I'll take Josh Dobbs over either Will Levis or Justin Fields.
Yeah. Consistent play, good points every week.
So I've got to give the edge to Josh Dobbs right there. Now, running back. Big news in Pittsburgh this week. I don't know if you saw this. Jaylen Warren is named the starter for Browns week, and Najee Harris is the backup.
No, that's fantastic.
Now, I don't think that means anything. I think all that means is Jaylen Warren plays the first series, but Najee Harris has come alive in that offense, and I don't even know if "come alive" is the right word. He's shown some life. He's gotten 2 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks, and they've been short yardage touchdowns.
Scored against the Packers, so that's not bad.
I wasn't going to say it. I was trying to be nice, but 9.5 against the Browns. I think he's going to be lucky to hit 9 against the Browns. Just throwing that out there. And then Rachaad White. Rachaad White has catching out of the backfield ability. That's where his value has been. But that Niners defense, they held Travis Etienne to under 5 points last week. Do I need to say any more?
No. It could very well happen again.
It very well could. On the other side, Gus Edwards against the Bengals. I don't know which running back to pick out in Baltimore right now. Is it Keaton Mitchell? Is it Justice Hill? Is it Gus Edwards? Gus Edwards is getting the goal line work, so I think that does help his value. And Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs. He finally looks healthy, conditioned, and coached well. And used in the right way.
Well, he's being used right way this year. The problem is his team is just terrible.
Yep, they're playing from behind, so they have to pass the ball. And then Raheem Mostert. Which Miami running back gets the bulk of carries this week? Is it Mostert? Is it Achane? Do they split?
I think it's going to be still going to be a split until otherwise noted. I mean, it doesn't matter. It makes good sense to split them. I mean, from a non-fantasy purpose, you want them both fresh for the playoffs.
You do. So we'll see what happens there. Now, receivers. DJ Moore and Garrett Wilson concern me. On the other side, DeAndre Hopkins, what does he do this week? He had a down week last week, but he went against the Niners. He's looked decent with Will Levis at quarterback. DK Metcalf against the Rams. The Rams don't have that shutdown corner that they did a few years ago, or for the last few years. And then Josh Reynolds. I don't know what the right play is there at the flex position, but I think the highest upside is probably Josh Reynolds for Adam.
He does have good upside. I mean, it stinks for him that Goddard is still hurt.
It does, and it looks like Goddard's going to be out this week. He's doubtful. He's listed as doubtful right now, and if you're listed as doubtful for a Monday night game, you're not playing. I wish they would make that designation right now. And Darren's dealing with some injuries too. T. Higgins is going to be out. Does Gerald Everett play this week? I mean, it's not a big deal, but I like Jared Everett over Cade Otton in the tight end room. But DJ Moore and Garrett Wilson, does DJ Moore get Justin Fields back, and does that make a difference?
No, I think the rookie quarterback, he's playing just fine.
And then Garrett Wilson, the Jets did come out and have a players-only meeting. We know what players-only meetings do.
Gets coaches fired.
It does get coaches fired. I look at that and think, Zach Wilson, he's not doing his job getting the ball to his playmakers. I mean, 10 points is generous at this point with Garrett Wilson. It's hard to say because a lot of people put a lot of stock, high draft stock in Garrett Wilson because they figured Aaron Rodgers was going to be the guy.
Stocked up in Hard Knocks, too.
Yeah. So MFL has this as a 12-point spread. Cole Kmet on the other side. I like Cole Kmet. He's played well the last few weeks. And Adam doesn't have a kicker in. Blake Rupe is on a bye, and we know Adam will get a kicker in, so you figure MFL's favorite projection for a kicker, 7 or 8 points. But that still only makes it a 5-point spread.
Yep, he's got Greg Joseph.
And he's got Greg Joseph on the bench. So, okay, so 9 points. So we got a 3-point spread. Darren, do you like Darren or Adam this week? Does Adam come to life after losing last week and winning?
A lot of Josh Reynolds is in a bad play. It's just that there's not a lot of guarantee.
I forgot the sound bumper for the first one. My bad.
Da, 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 da. It's gonna be a low-scoring game for both of them again, but you look at Josh Jacob, Raheem Mostert, and even DJ Moore. That might be enough for Darren.
I think for the ceiling, Darren has a higher ceiling than Adam, and because of that, I trust Josh Jacobs a little bit more than Najee and Rashad White, and I think Levis is learning how to play quarterback in the NFL. 9 points. He could be one of those guys that goes for 9 or 19. So, as much as I like Dobbs, much as I like DK and Cole Kmet, I got to go Darren. You got to go with what the higher ceiling is here. All right. Up next, we have Micah and my matchup. Yes, changed the team name after what CeeDee Lamb has done the last 4 weeks. I've got to represent CD. So we've got CD's Speedies. Good old reference to Binghamton, too.
Is he speedy?
He's speedy.
Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah. I mean, you saw some of those. Did you see the first catch of the game that he had last week? The one-handed, just like, I'm going to stick my hand out and catch the ball.
It was just
insane.
It was a pathetic show by the Giants. It's just him just to do what he does.
Yeah. So we're going CDs, Speedies. And this is a big matchup for. Let's be honest. Mike and I had that big trade back earlier in the season. I think Micah probably wants to win. I mean, Micah wants to win every week, but Micah is getting a little healthy. James Conner's back. Derrick Henry should be playing this week.
But can he actually score that many points?
I don't know, but it seems like we know Derrick Henry always seems to break out against the Jags. Just going to throw that out there. And then the big question mark, Alexander Mattison. It looks like he's trending toward not playing this.
Suit up, Ty Chandler. Who won the Ty Chandler sweepstake?
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, not you.
Not me. I saw who it was. We'll see him here in a little bit. I don't remember off the top of my head, but Trevor Lawrence and Geno Smith. I don't want to say it. I think Geno Smith's better play this week. I was all in on Trevor Lawrence, and he has let me down. He has not played like a quarterback one.
Could start Baker.
Against the Niners on the road?
I mean, no. The broken clock's always right twice. So.
It's not. I thought about it, but I'm going to stick with Trevor Lawrence. At some point, he's got to figure it out.
Told you those locks are just drenched too far into his brain.
Something's going on.
He needs to cut the hair.
But I'm not gonna go with the Peyton Manning look like from the Manning cast a couple weeks ago. Oh, did you not see that? No, you probably didn't. You were driving back from Lambeau. Trevor Lawrence was the reason why Trevor Lawrence was so bad. It was the Manning curse, and they showed a picture of Trevor Lawrence with the Peyton Manning haircut, and it was terrible. It was awful. But I digress. It was bad. But I do like Geno. I like Geno Smith over Trevor Lawrence. I don't want to admit it, but I feel like I have to. I've got to be real. Thoughts? You want to tell me I'm wrong?
No,
Please?
I was just looking at your running backs. Wow.
What about my running backs?
Wow.
What about them?
Wow.
What about him? Yeah. ETN, I can't complain with ETN. ETN has had a good year. Last week, he got eaten up by the Niners. What running back doesn't, especially with the addition of Chase Young, that has gone untalked about this week, at least in some circles. But I didn't know who to go with RB2. Roshan Johnson, I mean, the Chargers just ran all over the Lions. Do I go Leonard Fournette? Do I go Chuba Hubbard against the Cowboys? I've toyed with that.
Vander Esch is out, so maybe.
Leighton Vander Esch is out. Does that make a difference? I don't know. And it may be Chuba Hubbard. It might be Chuba. There's no guarantee that this is my final lineup.
I'm just seeing it, and I'm just like, what happened?
I got a little too trade happy.
A little bit.
And I don't even want to say it was a little too trade happy. They were moves that helped me at the time. But I won't lie. Okay, so I can go full. I can say this now. The trade deadline is passed, and I think everybody knows this. I thought I could move Deebo Samuel for an RB2. And what came back to bite me was that some of the responses that I got was because of how clear I was in the rush report saying, if you say you can't trust Debo, why would I want to trade for him? So the rush report is the reason why Debo Samuel did not get traded. Thank you. So now I hope
traded him to me, and I am just like, no.
I think if you had a pulse in this league, I tried trading Debo Samuel to anybody. And when I drafted him, I drafted him because he was the best player available, and I thought that I could trade him for a running back. Just going to throw that out there. But you know what? Now that he's on my team, I have full confidence in Debo Samuel to be great.
Yeah, you need him to be. You need him.
I need him to be.
Score for 2 or 3 people here.
I need Debo, Devontae, and CD to score for 4 people.
Sure do.
Which is doable. Maybe.
Not week in, week out.
Not week in, week out.
But your running backs are clearly worse than Micah's. And I don't.
Yeah.
And I don't like Alexander Madison.
I mean, the other option that he has is Darrell Henderson.
Oh, I wouldn't even touch Darrell Henderson. I would throw in Nico if he's healthy, or George Pickens.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there.
KJ Osborne.
He hasn't submitted a lineup yet. Micah hasn't submitted a lineup yet, so we'll see what happens. He's got options there. But wide receiver, can you at least agree with me that my wide receivers are better than Micah?
Yeah, pass catchers in general. Tyler Lockett, Calvin Ridley, and then the gadget player of Taysom Hill, who is not.
He's on a bye week this week. So Micah's got to find a tight end, and there's no tight ends out there right now.
No. Jonnu might have gotten dropped.
Okay, Jonnu might have gotten dropped, but still.
Wait, no, did he get dropped? Oh, no, it's a different league. I've had Jonnu in many leagues. No, he's still on my team.
All right, with this lineup, I'm still projected to score 99 points. I feel like that's respectable. That's what my that's close to my season average. I feel like I have a win this week.
It's going to be a very low scoring affair by both of you.
I don't.
Listen, I do not like Devontae, only because his usage has been down this year. It's not that he's a bad player. He's a great player. Good hands, good player, but just he's not scoring points.
I felt like Sunday night he had Sauce Gardner on him quite a bit, and he's starting to have built that chemistry with Aiden O'Connell. I'm not saying Aiden O'Connell's the next Tom Brady, but the way Aiden O'Connell releases the ball, and Chris Collinsworth talked about it, Aiden O'Connell had the same coach that Tom Brady did at one point. And before Chris Collinsworth even said that, I thought to myself, this kind of looks like a young, inexperienced Brady. Now, again, I'm not saying Aiden O'Connell's Brady, but Aiden O'Connell doesn't throw a bad ball. And I think once they build that chemistry, Devontae Adams, his usage is going to go back up. And I would be saying that even if Devontae Adams wasn't on my team.
Oh, my.
It was. I mean, so far it's worked. But for Micah, it hasn't. Sorry, Micah. And Mike, I expect a text at some point this week, because normally you have a comment about the rush report. So, Tyler Lockett and Calvin Ridley. I understand starting Tyler Lockett, and you've got to start Calvin Ridley. The talent's there. He hasn't been good this year, and I don't know what's wrong with him.
None of it makes sense. He's a very good player.
So, I don't know if it's that year off. I don't know. I don't have the answer. But I feel like the make or break of this matchup is Sam Laporta.
He'll do just fine. It's the Bears defense.
It is. So I'm not picking against myself. Who, Nick, would you like in this pick?
I'll pick you.
Oh, hey, thank you very much. All right, Micah, good luck, but not too much. All right, our next big matchup is Dan and Jeromy. Now, Dan is sitting at 8-2. We've been wrong about Dan all year long, and he's getting help.
Yeah, and he's got
Keaton Mitchell.
Keaton Mitchell, who
He won the Keaton Mitchell sweepstakes last week. I'm still bitter about that too.
back-to-back weeks, Mitchell's looked good.
He has. And I think it continues this week. What have we seen to be true about Thursday night games? The running game works. Unless if you're the Bears or, well, Deontay Foreman had a touchdown last week. Unless you're the Panthers. Panthers are just bad. Just bad. Okay? But Dak against Brock Purdy. Is this even a question?
No, it's not.
After the game that Dak had last week, I don't have a problem with Brock Purdy anymore. Brock Purdy's now proven that he's a capable quarterback and a legitimate player. But Dak against the Panthers, give me Dak.
Oh, easily.
And this isn't a knock on Brock. It's not a knock on Brock. Dak's just a better quarterback this week. But running backs. Jeremy's running backs are running backs who, two of the three haven't lived up to their expectations. Aaron Jones and Tony Pollard have just been bad. Jerome Ford's the best back that Jeromy has.
Most consistent back. I don't think Aaron Jones has been too awful. There's weeks that he's looked anemic running the ball, and just like he's lost. But yeah, Tony Pollard has been awful all season.
Well, the problem with Aaron Jones is the injury. If Aaron Jones didn't have the injury,
well,
he missed 3 or 4 weeks. That hurts a running back. I understand that, especially a hamstring injury.
He doesn't have a line.
So, we'll go there. But on the other side, Joe Mixon, David Montgomery, and Keaton Mitchell. I like Keaton Mitchell. We talked about that already. But I don't know how. I'm trying to figure out how I feel about Joe Mixon. I don't hate Joe Mixon because the Ravens' run defense is susceptible. It's a Thursday night game. If I stay consistent, Mixon should have a decent game.
He's just been Mr. Inconsistent.
He has been.
But
and then David Montgomery.
But not like explosive at all.
He hasn't had that 5 touchdown game. He's been good, not great. I don't know. I don't know. And then David Montgomery. I mean, he's a touchdown vulture for Jahmyr Gibbs. They get the ball within the 5. David Montgomery's coming in. But last week he showed that he can break a 75-yard run.
Still good. 26.
So, and I think I wonder if David Montgomery's got a little extra juice going up against the Bears. The Bears.
The Bears they're worse than the Packers.
They are.
So
they are.
Very much so.
Now, wide receivers. Deontay Johnson and Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice is a nice little piece.
Rashee Rice is becoming the guy that Patrick Mahomes seems to trust. Deontay Johnson. I think I said last week that I really liked him.
Besides the fact he's only caught one touchdown in like 29, 30 games.
Yeah. I don't like the matchup. I feel like the Browns. I feel like the Browns are going to play inspired football and try to make it almost impossible for Pittsburgh, and that Pittsburgh offense scares me. Going up against, we've seen what Pittsburgh's offense does against great defenses this year. They cannot score. They've been outgained, and yet somehow are 6-3.
Crazier things have happened, it looks like.
Yeah. On the other side, though, I mean, Keenan Allen, he's healthy. He's one of the best receivers in the NFL.
He'll probably go 200 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Probably will. But what do you do about Amari Cooper? That 12 points is almost 13 points is asking a lot. But I don't see any other options.
No, it's do or die.
It's do or die for Cleveland. I mean, maybe Cooper gets a lucky touchdown. I mean, that's what I feel like saves Amari Cooper's value if he can catch a touchdown.
Very minimal value right now.
We'll see what happens. Now, tight ends. Jake Ferguson. He's had a nice year. But he's no Travis Kelce.
Kelsey's in love.
He's been swifted away.
I mean, I'm not going to rule against Kelsey. So, which Travis Kelce every day of the week.
Yeah, it's not even close. Now, MFL has this as a 0.3 of a point spread. Is it really that close?
No.
All right, who do you like?
I like Dan this week. I mean, Dak Prescott's literally going to carry his team.
I agree.
And I don't think there's any points.
I think Dak. I think at some point Tony Pollard's got to get more involved. I'm going to go the upset this week. I'm going to take it. I'm not going to say Dak has another 45-point game, but 16 points just seems really low for Dak against a bad Panthers defense. So I'm going to take Jeromy and say that it's going to be Dak Prescott winning this matchup. And very rarely do we say a quarterback wins a matchup. All right. Next, we've got Caleb against Craig. Now, Craig's team, if you read the rush review, if you watch the rush report, I've said constantly that Craig's team is the best team that has been built. It's the most consistent team. He got off to a little bit of a rough start. He punted week 9 because of buys. But you can't argue with the fact that he's scoring over 110 points a matchup.
Nope. And he only has one running back, really.
He does. I mean,
he should be.
But when you have Chris,
Kyron Williams back next week.
Yep, he should be getting him back. I mean, when you have Christian McCaffrey, though, you just need a flex play at the RB2. RB2 becomes a flex because McCaffrey plays for 1.5. Herbert doesn't look right, though. I don't know if it's hand. I don't know if it's coaching. Just something doesn't look right about Justin Herbert.
No. And he's got to get it right. He's got to get it right game against the Packers this week.
He does. Now, Sam Howell. Is Sam Howell the future quarterback in Washington?
Every indication
he looks really good. He looks, and the Giants defense I mean, if they want to win, they've got to step up. I like Sam Howell. I think I'm going to say that this quarterback matchup is a push. I'm going to show a little bit more respect to Sam Howell.
Fantasy-wise, I don't think he's there yet, but Herbert really hasn't been stacking it up.
Right. Now running back. Devin Singletary, Javonte Williams. That's nice. Christian McCaffrey will outscore both of them combined this week. The Bucks run defense, it's not great.
No. And Devin Singletary,
Devin
Goodbye.
Singletary is going to be the backup. Damian Pierce is going to be back.
And Javonte Williams, he's a nice little player, but that's about it.
The Vikings defense has looked better over the last couple weeks. Brian Flores is coaching them up. They finally look like a cohesive unit.
They're trying to make the playoffs.
Give me McCaffrey. Give me McCaffrey.
Is that
Not
right?
even.
Is it even a question?
Don't even. It's not, yeah. Now receivers. Craig's got Jamar Chase, Christian Kirk, Terry McLaurin. Is that the best trio of wide receivers that he could put out?
This week.
I mean, Noah Brown has looked really good.
If he's healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. But
Adam Thielen's not a bad play, but not against the Cowboys.
mm-hmm. And Caleb this week has to start Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. He finally has the right two receivers in his lineup.
Yay, Caleb.
And then there's Tyler Boyd, who drops touchdown passes.
The Bengals problem.
And then we go to tight end. I mean, Kittle, Logan Thomas. Is this a question?
Thomas is a nice story again this year, but that's about it.
Yeah. Give me Kittle.
Kittle's a
Even
bit.
he- Is this a question?
No, it's not. It's easily Craig this week.
Yeah, I would agree with you. This is Craig's matchup, and look for Craig to jump into the top two. I'm going to call it. Calling my shot. All right. Next, we have Sam's matchup with Jeffrey. Now, Jeffrey's getting Patrick Mahomes back. This is a premier quarterback matchup. I love it when we see Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Now go.
Patrick Mahomes. Easy.
I agree.
Without question. It's, again, Thursday night.
The only thing that I'm going to say that Lamar Jackson does have value is running the ball on Thursday night. That's all that I'm going to say. But running back, it gets a little interesting here. Jahmyr Gibbs is really good. I think we've seen now that the Lions have figured out where he fits and why he was drafted, and we're seeing why they drafted him in the first round. I don't know if I agree with starting Antonio Gibson
Or James Cook.
or James Cook. I don't know.
There's nothing about it. It makes sense.
James Cook has the ability to break a big one, but Jets defense is really good. Antonio Gibson gets lucky with touchdown catches, and the Giants defense, they just gave up 48 points to the Cowboys. So, which way do you go?
No one start Antonio Gibson.
It's a bold move. Now, Jeffrey's going Eckler. We know Eckler's his guy. They're playing the Packers, so look for Eckler to have about 72 points. And then I think Jeffrey's finally found his RB2. in Deontay Foreman.
For now, until Khalil Herbert's back.
And he has Khalil Herbert on IR. So
Very well be back this week.
We'll see what happens. I like Jeffrey's running backs. Receivers. Hollywood's nice. Gallup's not. Tyreek Hill.
The man, the myth.
I'm going to say this. In another league, I'm going up against Tyreek Hill. Anytime in that league I go up against Tyreek Hill, I get shellacked because Tyreek Hill has career games. So Tyreek Hill is going to have a career game this week.
Is that a match against Christy by chance?
I don't want to talk about who I want to keep the opponent anonymous. But there is somebody else in the studio that's laughing, and I don't want to name any names. They are covering their face because they don't want to be heard. I'm not bitter. I'm just very bitter. So Jeffrey, Tyreek Hill is going to go off this week. Just warning you right now.
You say so. The Raiders. It's the Raiders without question.
I have dodged Tyreek Hill twice this year. He's due. I can't go 3 for 3.
Yeah, but
it's Tyreek Hill.
Yeah,
coming off a bye.
But Brandon Ayuk, Gabe Davis, Devontae Smith for Mr. Jeffrey.
I do give that. I don't like Gabe Davis. I know what I said about the Bills, the offense. Gabe Davis doesn't look like a number 2 receiver. He is a number 3 slot guy. I don't like his value in fantasy.
No, but pass catchers still Jeffrey has the edge with Dalton Schultz over Conklin.
Yep, that was a good move by Jeffrey for Dalton Schultz. Moving on. I don't want to talk about that move either.
So how do you feel about the Commanders against the Giants?
The Commanders run away with it against the Giants. And when I say run away, I'm talking about a 24-14 game.
As much as I'm a Syracuse fan, DeVito will get crushed.
DeVito's dead to me. Being a Syracuse fan. He didn't live up to the billing at Syracuse. But this is not a college football fantasy podcast.
No, because
show.
I'm not going to go what I think about Dino Babers.
Come back for our coaches breakdown next week on the Rush Report. All right.
Cowboys versus Panthers.
Cowboys, Panthers. It's the Cowboys. Michael Gallup. I think Michael Gallup has high upside to have a touchdown. But
the Dallas Cowboys defense against
Cowboys defense is going to have 25 points. Tyreek Hill is going to go off. But I think Patrick Mahomes, Devontae Smith, Brandon Ayuk, and Austin Eckler will give Jeffrey the win.
Yeah, is this really a question?
2 people can't win a matchup. Oh, wait, they have this year. And it's been Tyreek Hill and Dallas's defense. But I look for Jeffrey to get a good win this week. All right. And our last matchup in the bigs. We've got Christy's matchup against Dave. Now, Christy was sitting her lineup today and said, oh, no. Because she's got a little bit of a bye week issue. Her main piece, Jonathan Taylor, is on bye. And that hurts when you look at, you figure he's good for 15 points, and you have to play Zach Charbonnet.
Wait. Time out. Who was just talking crap about Kenny Walker and how amazing Charbonnet is? What?
Who would you rather start? Let's be realistic here.
Yeah, you're just saying that Charbonnet was cutting in.
Charbonnet's cutting in, but who would you rather start? Charbonnet or Jonathan Taylor? Don't make me go Christopher Mad Dog Russo on you.
Listen here, Chris.
Listen here, Nicholas. I'm telling you, Zach Charbonnet's good, but he's no Jonathan Taylor.
I think Jonathan Taylor's Jonathan Taylor.
Only Jonathan Taylor. But Josh Allen against Tua. Why is it only 14 points for Tua? Where's the respect for Tua?
Because they don't like Tua. And I think that they're in love with Josh Allen. Why? I think it should be turnover edition on the cover of Madden. Because Josh Allen seems to only know what Apple turnovers are these days.
Did you say Madden curse?
Mm-hmm.
Poor Josh Allen. Poor Josh.
Because he's going to be playing in Bills country, and Bills country and in New York is Apple country, so there's going to be Apple turnovers this week.
Ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one. Now, I do like Josh Allen a little bit more than you. I think at some point Josh Allen's just got to shut out the noise, and he's more than capable of doing that. I don't think 20 points is too much for Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen's going to start running the ball a little bit more. I feel like Ken Dorsey was holding Josh Allen back.
Still don't think it was Ken Dorsey. I still think that it's just overall bad management of the team.
I think it comes down to Sean McDermott. You listen to some guys, and Sean McDermott talk in the offseason. I didn't realize this that much until just the last couple weeks. Sean McDermott came out and said that Josh Allen needed to grow up and not run the ball as much. I don't care. Yes, Josh Allen has the potential of taking the big hits. But the dude's 6'6" and can run a 4.5 40. Okay, I think he's 6'5", but still. He ain't a little
You gotta
Bryce Young, or
you got the players do their thing.
Let Josh Allen. You heard it for years in Seattle. Let Russ cook. I think if you're Buffalo, and I think you're going to see this with Joe Brady, let Josh Allen be Josh Allen. I think that's going to be what gives Josh Allen an edge over the Jets.
He needs to be able to have time to do his thing, but we'll see if that happens.
Now, looking at this though, Tua 14.9 points. I feel like I feel like Tua needs to be right there with Josh Allen.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't really think that it's a fair point total.
I don't think it is either. I think this is more of a push than anything, with maybe a slight edge to Tua. Am I wrong?
The Raiders' defense is worse than the Jets' defense, without question.
It is. So, all right. I think we both just talked into it. Tua has a better matchup than Josh Allen. Tua's underrated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, running backs. Breece Hall and Bryan Robinson. I feel like Breece Hall has a good matchup. Bryan Robinson has a good matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Charbonnet, actually, he has a good matchup. We talked about it with Kenny Walker. Kareem Hunt against the Steelers. I think with a rookie quarterback, Kareem Hunt's usage goes up. I think that brings his value up.
Check down safety man.
Check down safety man, and if they get into the red zone, if they get inside the 5-yard line, Kareem Hunt's going to be able to score. It's Kareem Hunt. He's their short yardage guy. But give me Breece Hall and Bryan Robinson. All right. Receivers. A.J. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua.
Who's throwing the ball this week?
I was just going to say, Matt Stafford looks like he's going to be back, but it's still not a fully healthy Matt Stafford, and that thumb is a big deal. And it's Seahawk week. The Seahawks aren't the Legion of Boom, but they're not the worst defense in the NFL. Pete Carroll knows how to coach.
Yeah, it's
On
going
the
to
other
matter
side,
who's throwing the ball. That's what it's going to come down to.
I like AJ Brown this week. I think that bye week's going to be good. The Chiefs' defense is really good, but their secondary has been susceptible at times this year. I think we've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Christy went back and forth: Jacoby Myers or Brandon Cooks. After the game that Brandon Cooks had and the matchup, I think she made the right choice with Brandon Cooks.
Mr. Upside.
I think Brandon Cooks has more upside. Tank Dell, what Tank Dell and CJ Stroud are doing, that's something special in Houston. And then Amon-Ra against the Browns or the Bears, is that even fair?
No.
So which receivers do you like better? MFL makes it clear that they like Dave's receivers better. But I'm not so sure. I was talking this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the most disrespected receivers in the NFL. He doesn't get his due.
He's a lion.
And that's why.
I had to sum it up for you.
Yeah. Tank Dell, he's creating a name in Houston. He and CJ Stroud have some great chemistry. And you see what happens when a quarterback and receiver have chemistry. Look at Tom Brady, Wes Welker, Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, Ben Roethlisberger, Antonio Brown, Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin. There we go. I had to go old school.
But you're talking about prolific quarterbacks as well. We're talking about
I am.
Jared Goff.
I'm talking Jared Goff, Amon-Ra.
We're talking about, he's been to the Super Bowl once.
Oh, yeah.
It looked awful.
He's the number one pick.
Man. Almost was considered a bust.
Almost. And if you think about it,
I still never bought into the bust thing. I just thought he was an average quarterback.
Yeah, he shouldn't have gotten the huge contract. But CJ Stroud and Tank Dell, CJ Stroud is looking like he could possibly be the next John Elway. Or the next.
I said that was stupid that Carolina passed on him. But here we are.
I didn't disagree with you. Dave Tepper was the one that made that call.
Everybody, I mean, I really like CJ Stroud. He was a better college quarterback. Talent coming out. I mean, size. But nevertheless, I like the wide receiving core of Houston this year.
Yeah. So let's look at this matchup. Which receivers would you rather have? Would you rather have Dave's receivers this week or Christy?
So Stafford is a full participant today. So
yeah, Stafford's listed to play, but the thumb's still not fully healed. Sean McVay came out and said that.
Ooh, see, this is bucking.
It might be Carson Wentz throwing them the ball.
Oh, that Christie's.
I still got to go with Dave.
I don't.
AJ Brown and Cooper Kupp. Even though I don't trust the Rams quarterbacks, I feel like the Eagles are going to be playing for revenge this week too.
AJ Brown is out of this grouping the best wide receiver.
Hands down, it's not it. I'm going to say it's
I like
closer than what most people would say between St. Brown and AJ Brown, but AJ Brown is the best receiver.
Yes, I mean there's nothing wrong with him. Amon-Ra, phenomenal talent. AJ Brown is having a great season.
Yep. Now tight end. I thought it was interesting last week. Trey McBride.
Yeah.
He was Kyler Murray's favorite target.
That's why he gets the edge this week for the first time.
Trey McBride finally looked like the tight end that everybody liked coming out of Notre Dame.
He is a good talent.
Yeah.
Now I will
say, I will say this. We don't normally talk about benches, but I'm going to talk about a bench right now because we talked earlier how I did not win the Keaton Mitchell. Dave won the Ty Chandler sweepstakes this week. So now Dave is looking at Ty Chandler, and I will say kudos to Dave. MFL didn't have this set up, but Dave added Michael Carter before the Cardinals even signed him. Good job, Dave. I am calling collusion. I am calling something. Spygate. Michigan Gate. I'm just going off on a tangent here. Probably should stop, but
I mean, look at it. Okay,
good job, Dave. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Michael Carter, who's going to be the number 2 here, probably by next week. Ty Chandler, who's going to start this week, potentially. Damian Pierce, who's hurt, who's a starter.
Jalen Warren,
who's
he's a starter.
Starter this week. Oh, look. Breece Hall and Brian Robinson. That's impressive.
Dave has legitimately has 5 starting running backs on his roster.
Collusion.
Good job, Dave.
All right, so we gotta change his roster around. Do we have power to do that?
All right, with the next pick, Nick, who are you taking in this matchup?
I'm picking Dave.
I got to go with you there.
I keep trying not to pick Dave, and he keeps giving me reasons to pick him.
I mean, this is a matchup of a 4-6 team in Dave and a 5-5 team in Christy. So both of these teams need a win to sneak into the playoffs, and I don't see it for Christy this week. I really don't. So I've been surprised multiple times, but I don't see it. And that brings us to the end of the bigs. The Wee League. The Wee League is actually a whole lot closer than what some realize. There are 3 teams sitting at 6-4. Okay, Chad, Mark, and Matt, and then you've got 3 teams at 5-5. Daniel, Bryan, and Shayne. Shayne is the last team looking out right now. So that's a big deal. And I think while he's not mathematically eliminated, Brandon has the points, but at 3-7, it's going to be really hard for him to make the playoffs. He has to win out and then has to have some other things go his way.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough sledding.
It will be. So let's look at our first matchup. The bigs matchup of the week. We've got the brotherly matchup between Mark, Nelson, and Bryan. Always good when we have a family matchup. And I just thought of this. We didn't have a father-son matchup in the bigs this week. I think that's got to be the first this year.
Yeah, I was just double checking lineups is all.
All right.
Mahomes, Allen. That's a good quarterback matchup.
Mahomes and Allen, great quarterback matchup. James Cook, does he protect the ball? That's my biggest question with James Cook. Does he protect the ball? The Jets' run defense is good. Jets' defense is good. It's not 85 Bears. It's not even 2002 Bucks. They're good defense, not great. I still don't like 13 points for James Cook. I'm just going to go there. Now, Jalen Waddle. Is he fully healthy after the bye?
Every indication is he is.
It looks like it. And I think the Dolphins have a big game against the Raiders.
I mean, they dropped on my screen. They dropped the Q, so I mean it's a matter of semantics at this point. Going into Thursday.
Yep. And then one name that we didn't talk about, Dalton Kincaid. Kincaid has essentially become the number 2 receiver in Buffalo.
Yes, he should be.
And I like that for Buffalo. I think look for Kincaid's value to continue to rise. I think 7 points is low for Kincaid this week.
I think it's going to be a make it break it game.
All right, I think you're right. So we'll see what happens. Now, MFL has this as a 10-point spread with the edge going to Mark. Mark has the better record, but they score almost identical points. Bryan scores roughly 96 points a matchup, his average, and Mark scores roughly 100. So a 4-point swing. Who do you like?
This really might just come down strictly to that defense. And I think the Bills.
Matchup.
I think the Bills are going to matter because I think that the Jets' offense is just that much worse.
I don't disagree with you.
So I'm going to be picking Mark this week.
You know what? Just because you picked Mark, and what I said about Cooks, Dell, and Debo earlier, and then Kincaid being the wild card, I'm gonna take Bryan this week. I think Bryan has the pieces to beat Mark.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of those pieces are being undersold on MFL. All right. Up next, we've got 2 6-4 teams with Matt and Chad. Now, Chad still has the most points scored in the Wii League,
And I still can't believe he's 6-4.
but he is only 6-4. Only 6-4. He's just had some rough luck. It's okay. We all have it. And it's not uncommon to see a team that is 3rd, 4th, or 5th having the second most points scored and not being in first. So looking at that, I'm in a league. I have the second most points scored, and I'm sitting in 7th right now, just because of the way the schedule has worked. But Chad's team of Herbert, Eckler, and Montgomery, with Montgomery coming back, that just makes his team so much more dangerous.
Yeah, you need a consistency player. And I mean, Montgomery will make a big difference for him because when he's out there, he's usually at least 10 points. I mean, the Bears are pretty weak, so he could be easily 15 points this week.
Yep. And then Tyreek Hill. What have I said about Tyreek Hill tonight?
He goes
He's
off.
going to have a big game. He's going to go off.
Which is, I think, the biggest reason why Chad's been so successful this year.
Mm-hmm. Now, on the other side, we did not talk about Jamar Chase at all.
Yeah, Jamar Chase, he's good points totals every single week, just about. I mean, ever since Burrow got his act together.
Yeah, he's hitting his projections, going over a little bit. I don't love Thursday night games, but do you make an exception for Jamar Chase? Do you make an exception for primetime players?
No.
So are you saying Jamar Chase goes under?
12-13. I mean, the Ravens' defense was good. 13 at a good.
Yeah.
13's at a good number.
All right, so you're going under. I don't disagree with you, but I wouldn't be shocked if Chase hits that number or goes over. I think 15's right about where Chase would be. I think he hits it. I mean, if you think about that, that's 80 yards and a touchdown. So
I'm not a big fan of Thursday night until we see some consistency. It's just, to me, it's just a bad model for fantasy, and I don't even think it's a good model for football at all.
Yeah, I think you're right, but we're not here to discuss if Thursday night football should be included. We're here to talk fantasy. But Matt got the unlucky draw of Bijan being on bye and having to go with Devin Singletary.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's lock our picks.
I think it's an easy pick for me. I'm going to be picking
This is
Chad this week.
Yeah, this is a Chad win. Matt got unlucky with some bye week. That's what it comes down to. If Bijan plays, I like Bijan over Devin Singletary.
It happens to everybody, though.
It does, and that's why it all depends on how you draft. Now, here we got next. We've got Owen against Daniel. Now, Owen is 8-2. I think Sam Howell is a legitimate fantasy starter and can give somebody a championship because of what he's doing. I like Sam Howell as a fantasy option based on Kirk Cousins going down.
I still don't like the fact that they don't give Tua enough credit.
I agree. Tua was the better quarterback. Give me Tua. Put 20 up there for Tua.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to give Tua the edge. I mean, I know Sam Howell's probably going to have a decent week this week, but I don't think he's going to have a Tua week.
I don't think so either. Now, where Owen, Christian McCaffrey,
and DeAndre Swift.
And DeAndre Swift. We said what we said. I think DeAndre Swift comes in at the under a little bit. The other side, Deontay Foreman, Breece Hall, and Derrick Henry. It's not a bad running back trio.
Considering we don't really know if Philly Herbert, number one, is playing this week, for sure. It's not a bad
Right.
move. I mean, and say, for instance, he is playing. I think Foreman might still get looks, but he even has Jalen Warren.
Yeah. Yep. And I think it's the right play not to start Jalen Warren against the Browns defense. Now, pass catchers. Owen's got Christian Kirk, Jacoby Myers, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Kittle. On the other side, Daniel's not looking too shabby with Mike Evans, CeeDee Lamb, and Sam Laporta. Evans is
good, but
Evans has been consistent this year with Baker as his quarterback. I think it's safe to say, I know we're not talking Baker, but I think Baker's playing some of the best football in his career because he finally has good pass catchers.
good pass catchers. He does have. I think White's a good little running back for him.
Yeah.
I mean, and Cade Otton really is a decent tight end.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with the Bucs offense. The Bucs offense isn't the issue. Their defense hasn't been able to keep them in games. Now, if I'm looking at this though, give me Amon-Ra St. Brown and George Kittle and Christian Kirk. Even though CeeDee Lamb and Sam Laporta and Mike Evans, they're really good.
Mm-hmm.
I think Amon-Ra, based on match, and George Kittle and Christian Kirk, those matchups, I like those matchups more. I don't care about Jacoby Myers.
Mm-hmm.
Jacoby Myers is a throwaway at this point. In fact, looking at Owen's lineup, I would probably start Keaton Mitchell over Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, most certainly. I think that makes a good play. I mean, I really don't understand why his numbers are so low. I mean, 2 back-to-back weeks, his numbers should be a little higher, but it's not.
MFL hates projections.
They are the anti-projection.
Yeah, something like that. So, if we figure Tua with close to 5 more points, this makes this
a tighter game,
a tighter matchup, and actually gives Daniel a little bit of gives him a half-point edge over Owen. But if I'm honest, my pick's in. I still like Owen.
It's hard not to like Owen. It's the Christian McCaffrey and DeAndre Swift move.
So you're going 0-2.
Yeah. 0-2.
Aha, that was last year's joke. He's no Owen anymore. All right. Brandon, this matchup couldn't come at a better time for Brandon. Brandon has Coleman move.
He needs a click still because Coleman's still putting up some interesting points even though he's not doing anything.
The only issue that Coleman has with his lineup now is Nick Chubb. If he puts Cooper Kupp in, we're talking a different matchup. I mean, Cooper Kupp in, that's a legitimate fantasy matchup that I would not want to go up against.
Yeah, so he really has got to get all of his ducks in a row this week. I mean, would you start Nico Collins over Curtis Samuel?
I do.
It's kind of where I'm leaning. It's probably the safer play.
I
like.
I know I didn't start Chuba Hubbard, and you roasted me for it. But I might start Chuba Hubbard over Najee Harris. I don't like that matchup. That Browns defense is good. The Browns defense is a Super Bowl defense.
And I also like the fact that he's not starting Jaleel McLaughlin. I mean, Javonte clearly looked like he was back in charge.
Yeah, Javonte's finally the guy. Jaleel McLaughlin's your third down back. Strictly that. Yeah, I don't have. That's the only question that I would make with the Nico Collins and Chuba Hubbard. That's the only thing that I would change about Brandon's lineup. But let's be realistic. The pick's in for both of us before we even started talking about this. Do you want to say it or do you want me to?
We're picking Feeling the Hurts, Brandon Nelson.
Brandon, this is your chance to make a statement to show that you're not dead yet. All right. Next, we've got Shayne's matchup with Mark Friedman. Now, Mark's sitting in second place. Can't really argue about his lineup. I mean, he's got a good roster. And Shayne's got guys on his team that just haven't performed quite like you would expect. Shayne had a nice little run.
Do you know who might help him this week?
Who might help him?
Justin Jefferson.
I don't think it's happening this week. I think it's one more. I think he has one more week. We'll see. But if Justin Jefferson is healthy, who do you take it?
Zay Flowers.
I would agree.
I mean, there's the debate for Hollywood Brown, but Kyler's slinging it.
I don't disagree with you. Texans defense hasn't been great.
Mm-hmm.
That's why C.J. Stroud has had to be great. But Mark doesn't have a tight end. That's concerning. I don't know what's available in the Wii League, but Ertz is on IR. Taysom Hill has a bye week. I don't like Higbee, but 5 points is better than no points.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a possibility a tight end gets hot.
Yep. And we don't know who's playing quarterback quite yet for the Rams. I almost just said St. Louis. I almost went there. It's been how long since they've been the St. Louis Rams? All indications say it's Matt Stafford, but how healthy is Matt Stafford?
Yeah, I mean, that's still going to be a thing. I think that if he is, they could be running a lot.
All right, are you ready to make a pick? Is there anything that we haven't talked about? Dameon Pierce, He could run all over the Cardinals.
He could. But I'm pretty confident this week.
Dak or Joe Burrow? Which one do you like?
Dak.
I agree. If we're talking to Joe Burrow on Sunday, I think we're talking a different matchup.
Different matchup.
Okay. Let's lock it in.
Let's lock it in with Mark. Are you going to go
I think
Shayne?
I got to go Mark. I was looking at a way. If Justin Jefferson's healthy, here's what I'm going to say. If Justin Jefferson plays and is healthy, I'll give it to Shayne.
Yeah.
But we can't go based on that. We got to go based on what we see, and I got to go Mark.
Yeah, we'll see what
I
we
think
know
that's
as
fair.
of right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right. And our last matchup. It's another brother. It's the week of the brothers in the Wheelie. Victor against Lincoln. Now, both of these teams are 4-6. Almost identical. But the difference is Lincoln only scores 83 points a week. That's his average. Where Victor's scoring 97 points per week. And Victor is rolling out C.J. Stroud. I really like C.J. Stroud. I'm getting more and more respect for him, especially now that he's not at Ohio State.
The Ohio State University.
Don't go there.
We are.
Don't even go there either. It's still better. All right. Again, this isn't a college coaching. College. Getting me off top.
Yeah.
Where's my students? I got to take C.J. Stroud over Trevor Lawrence. But this is a big tight end matchup. Kelsey or Andrews.
Kelsey by a smidge.
And I'm going to make a statement here. You ready? Could you imagine if Lincoln still had Austin Eckler?
Choices we make for the kickers.
Choices that we make. You gotta learn to live with it, but you also have to learn the importance of deactivating players. Or just setting them on your bench and letting them ride it out. Lincoln's got a lot of concerns on this team. Javonte Williams doesn't scare me. Justice Hill doesn't scare me. Jahan Dotson doesn't scare me anymore. He's really flamed out. But on the other side, ETN, Kenny Walker, Devontae, Travis Kelce, I'm locking it in.
Even the few moves that he's still got to make, I'm pretty much there with Victor.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Victor too. Whether he plays Romeo Dobbs or George Pickens or even in Jigba, I don't have a problem with either three of those bet as flex.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. All right. So that brings us to another end of the Rush Report. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, we're at week 11, so after this week, we only have 2 more matchups, and then we go to the all league matchup that has officially passed in the poll, if you care about that. So we'll see how that affects standings. This is kind of the first year for that run.
Yeah,
but this is a big
trial and
week.
errors.
I mean, we could see playoff seeds locked this week.
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't know. Other than being in my position, I haven't really looked at too much down the road. Let's see here. The cutoff's at Nate at 5-5.
So you could lock up a playoff spot.
It's a lot this week. Okay.
Dan could lock up a playoff spot with a win. Craig can almost seal a playoff spot with a win. I mean, you get to 8 wins in the bigs, you're in the playoffs. We've seen that. That's consistent. So 8 wins gets you in. It's that 5-5, 4-6 group that'll be interesting to see moving forward. Now in the Wii League, Owen can lock up a playoff spot with a win, but he's the only one. Again, 8 wins in the Wii League, that gets you into the playoffs. So if Mark wins, it's not a guarantee, but you can almost guarantee it. So it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that brings us to another end of the Rush Report. Nick, is there anything that you wanna say that stuck out to you?
No, it's been a fun season so far.
It has been, and our Rush Reports have gotten longer and longer as the year has gone on.
I know everybody hates that. That's why I have chapters.
Yes, so there are chapters if you want to look at your matchup. And I'm next week on the Discord, I may just throw out the Zoom link, and if anybody wants to join us. It's a holiday week next week. We'll enjoy it. We'll plan on doing this Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. So if anybody wants to join us for the Rush Report, this is your open invitation. I think that's fair to say for a Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's all that I got. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you next week for another edition of the Rush Report.